Okay, hey everyone. Two things right off the bat. Number one, you're probably going to notice that we're back to my other camera because that other one just had too many problems, so I'm back to this one for a while. So, it's number 5. I'll find one that works eventually, though. And the other thing is the mark on my head right now, which I just want to put that into context before I actually start talking about what I'm going to talk about. I was filming part of my Bleach review for this week downstairs. I was actually filming part that involved smart teching, which I actually had to draw that symbol. I was going to erase it, but then I decided I am talking about Sinister, so I figured, hey, we kind of work with it, so that's why that's there. I'm not like a cultist or anything. I just wanted to throw that out there. Plus, if you've anyone that's seen Soul Eater probably knows what that symbol means. Anyway, so I just got done watching Sinister. It was released on DVD, I think, either today or yesterday. One of the days it was released on DVD, so I finally got my hands on it. And this is a movie that when I saw the trailer for it way back in like I don't know, like October, September. No, it came out in October, so probably like September, August. I saw the trailer for it. I remember looking at it, and I'm just like, yeah, I know where that's gonna go. It's gonna be people moving into a house, and then some creepy shit's gonna happen in the house, and the kids are gonna be all weird, and then they're gonna die at the end, and that's just how that's gonna go. Because I've seen so many freaking horror movies where that happens. So I didn't see it. I didn't see it in theaters. But then something weird happened. After the movie was released, I was watching a lot of reviews and a lot of critiques of it online, and a lot of people were really liking this movie. It even got like a high rating on Rotten Tomatoes, which is really phone's done charging. So yeah, I mean, it ranked a lot higher than I thought it would be, so I figured, okay, I'll give it the benefit of the doubt. I'll watch this when it comes out on DVD. So I just watched it, and for the most, yeah, I totally liked it. You know, I really enjoyed myself watching Sinister. In fact, for the very first time in a very long time, ever since I've been watching, you know, horror movies, the past couple that I have seen, this one actually genuinely creeped me out. Like, it really did, and I'm watching it, like, broad daylight. Like, if I was watching this at night right now with the lights off, I'd probably get really the jitters. But anyway, so that's the following is going to be spoiler alert territory. So if you haven't seen the movie, go see it. It's really good. Anyway, I do have some problems with it, but the whole arc of the movie and the way it developed and the way that that everything took place, it was not. I was afraid it was going to be cliche, and it wasn't like that. Because I've had so many horror movies where, at least mostly in the past couple of years, where they have a family moving into a house, and generally what happens is some weird stuff starts happening involving a ghost. I mean, the family doesn't usually see the ghost. They like the ghost is in the background or something, and you know, as soon as they turn around, the ghost is gone. Ooh. And then what I always hate though about these movies is not really that, it's how the kids are. And what I mean by that is, if these families, they usually have like 2 kids, usually a boy and a girl, and sometimes even 2 girls. It's very rare, like the boy usually doesn't do much, but the girl, it's always like little girls are always so creepy. I mean, I don't know why. Maybe these movie producers just like are watching like Poltergeist or Exorcism, and they just are not the Exorcism of it, like not the recent one, the original Exorcism. You watch that shit if you haven't seen that. But I think these movie people just saw this and like, oh yeah, creepy little girls that are creepy. Let's just, you know, have them do some generally weird and creepy stuff, like drawing shit on the walls or saying stuff like, it's like, this is my imaginary friend and he's going to kill you, or he's very mean, you know, stuff like that. That's a cliche that's been done so much, like some weird shit involving the kids, that I'm tired of it. I'm just tired of it. It always subtracts from the movie for me. So anyway, on to the plot of the movie. Basically, Ethan Hawke plays this writer, and this writer is apparently looking for his next big break. Like you know, he's kind of like a washed-up writer where, you know, his big book was really successful. And in case you forget that, they mention it throughout the entire movie about his first book being like his 15 Minutes of Fame, which I never understood, because apparently he was like the best-selling author ever. Because this movie takes place like 10 years after the book has been written, and yet everyone knows him. Everyone that he comes across has at least heard of his book, wants an autograph, or hates his guts, and they all know who this guy is right off the bat. I'm like, okay, apparently this is like the most best book ever written. This is like, this must have been like the 1984 of our generation or something, like some Harry Potter kind of deal where like everybody knows the author right off the bat. Well, anyway, so he wrote this one book. He writes these true crime novels and stories about, you know, stuff that actually happened, and apparently, you know, he uncovered some stuff that the cop forgot in the first movie, in the first book he wrote. So, you know, so for that reason, and because everyone knows about this, Ethan Hawke's character, the cops in this movie hate him, like, right off the bat. Like, there's, like, one guy, but, like, the cops, just, like, the sheriff's just like, I don't approve of what you're doing here. So what they are doing is they're moving into the house of this previous murder victim. The murder victims of this family, who, that's actually how the movie opens. And I was really surprised and happy in the same sense of how the movie opened. The movie opens with this Super 8 film of these 4 family members getting hung on this tree. And that's really freaking creepy. That is probably one of the best ways you could open a horror movie in that regard, where there's no music. I mean, there's just like the clicking, the clackering of the projector, but there's no music. It's just utter silence and just watching these family being, you know, they're hung up onto this tree, and just watch as they're slowly, this branch falls, and they're brought up by the ballast, and they're being hung to death. And they have bags over their faces, and they're just, like, thrashing around. Like, that is freaking creepy. You know, just seeing that without the sound, that is freaking creepy. In fact, I think that's a situation where even if they did play some really creepy music in the background, I think that really would have subtracted from it. But, and there's a couple scenes in the movie like that. But, so basically, Ethan Hawke, you know, he moves into this house, and his wife, who's British for some reason, and he has a kid, son, and a little girl. You know, very standard stuff so far. So I'm like, okay, the opening was pretty cool, but at the same time, you know, let's see what you're going to do with this. So the first thing that happens, pretty much, is that Ethan Hawke is setting up his, like, they're moving the boxes into the house, and he finds a box in the attic, and the box is it contains a projector and Super 8 film. And at first he's even like, you know, like, really, like I move into the house of a murder victim and I just happen to find film. Like, why would this even be here? I mean, obviously this is the house that like, very gruesome murders took place. Obviously the cops would have come in and taken anything out. Why was this even here? So for a second there, I'm even getting the feeling like he's thinking it's a joke, or he's thinking like somebody put this in here just to fuck with him, because honestly, why else would this be in here? So, you know, like, okay, he's watching the films, and the film is all like of like similar stuff to the Super 8 film at the beginning, where it's just watching these families get murdered in really gruesome ways. And there's 2 things I really like here involving these scenes. Number one, the films all start off, I mean, they're all in different locations with different families, but they all start off with like something like very pleasant, like, you know, like barbecue, like it looks like barbecue one. So, you know, there's the family hanging out, having a barbecue, all good old time, and it just cuts abruptly to them getting murdered in each, you know, hideous, gruesome ways. Like they're getting set on fire inside of a car, or getting drowned, or getting stabbed, or, you know, it's just really, really abrupt. And also, I would have preferred it more here where there's no music, because there is music here. In fact, as soon as he cues up the movie, you start hearing like the creepy music in the background, and I'm thinking like, okay, Super 8 film did not have, it's not audio. You can't listen to audio on Super 8 films, so I was thinking like, okay, this is the film audio of the movie, but it syncs up really well at the same, it works really good. And then actually there's a lot of times throughout the movie where you hear some kind of sound, and you are actually split between, like, was that a sound effect, or is that something that actually happened? Like, can Ethan Hawke, can his character hear that, or is that just the sound effect of the movie? So the sound's really fidgety at times, but you know, the music itself is okay. It's just kind of hard to discern, like, is that part of the music, or is that like a sound that Ethan Hawke heard? But anyway, so he sees all these gruesome murders. Now, once again, he does something kind of fairly logical. It's like, okay, you moved into this house to write about the murders of this family, to try to like write a novel, figure out what really happened. And his family is unaware of all of this, by the way. He completely, you know, like, screwed them over on this, like telling them why they're moving, and I'll get to that in a second. But so he's just moving here just to figure out some stuff, and he instead comes across irrefutable physical evidence on the murders. Like, it's not like an issue where, you know, he just finds, like, maybe, you know, just like he finds evidence, like physical evidence. So the logical thing to do would be just like, hey, screw the book. I need to call the frickin' police about this. And he does. And, of course, well, while he's on the phone, he's like, oh, give me the police department. And then while he's on hold waiting for the police department, he looks at, like, his books, and he's just like, oh, fuck it. And he just, like, he disconnects, and he's like, oh, this is my one chance of glory here. You do realize, of course, if you publish this book with the information, and the cops found out later on that you used evidence from a crime scene that you did not come up to them about, you could probably get, you know, put on trial for that shit. Like, you can probably get slapped with something involving the legal system for withholding evidence, I would assume. Especially since they make a big deal about how, like, each of these families has a missing child, including the family they moved into the house of, so there's, like, a missing girl. And so you do realize, of course, like, you know, you can't just publish this with this information. If the cops ever find out about this, you're screwed. So that doesn't make any sense why he would not do this. So, yeah, so basically the rest of the movie is him becoming more unhinged as he's watching these films, and he starts to come across an image, like a couple of images. He comes across like a satanic symbol in each of the videos. He comes across a figure, and this like ghost-like figure who he just writes off as being like some guy, like an actual like the serial killer. Even though it didn't make much sense because later on we discover that the time frame for each of these murders, these 5 families, takes place over the course of several decades. Like the earliest one is the 60s. I'm just assuming this is taking place in present day 2012. So you know, even one of the cops even says like the guy would be like in his 70s by now. So you know, whatever. But he's watching this, and you know, like okay, he says he doesn't believe in ghosts or anything like paranormal or anything. Number one, just what he is. He's a writer about crime and serial killers. Like, how could you not believe in that kind of shit? And secondly, you're watching shit that could not, like you're seeing stuff that's just, it's just a little bit out of whack. It's stuff that, even for serial killers, even for anything like this, it doesn't really click with something that's, you know, just like a guy going off and killing people. It doesn't click like that. There's something off here, okay? Like, if I was in this situation, and I'm watching these films, these Super 8 films, after I discovered, like, how much it fit together and, like, the fact that the box was there or the figure, I would either figure two things. Number one, the town's fucking with him. Either somebody in the town is aware of who he is and why he moved there, and they hate his novels, they just want to screw with him because, like, even the sheriff said, you know, I don't approve of you moving into this house. It's pretty bad taste, boy. You know, even in that regard, so either someone in the town screwing with him so much that they would go out and film this shit like it's fake and then put it in the attic for him to find. That would be the first one. Or number two, there's some creepy ghost shit going on in the house, and you should probably, you know, be aware of that. But Ethan Hawke, of course, has to play like, he's like, oh, well, you know, he's trying to figure out some logical way this could be the case. He can't just write it off as being a ghost because he doesn't have a book then, you know. He writes about true crime, right? It always comes back to the book. So, you know, that would be just me in this situation. I'd be like, oh, damn, that's probably like a ghost or a phantom or a specter, some otherworldly stuff going on. And so, you know, he encounters, you know, and even in stuff in the movie he encounters that you could not explain, like even with any kind of logic you can't explain. Like, okay, like, he has the projector set up in his office, and it was made clear earlier in the movie that the kids are not allowed in the office, but they're always kind of interested in going in the office. So, you know, the Super 8 film's in the office, he leaves, goes to bed, and he gets woken up. Like, this happens like 3 times throughout the movie, where he gets woken up by the sound of the projector running, like the film's running. So he goes downstairs, projector's running, the murders are playing, and not only that, but, you know, like, also, like, they're also playing on his laptop, because he transferred them to his laptop. So they're playing on his laptop, playing on the Super 8 film, and he's like, oh, what the hell? So he turns off his laptop, goes, locks the door, and goes back to bed. And later on, it happens again, where the Super 8 film's running, and like the office was locked. Like, okay, the first time maybe you can just write it off as the kids. How would like a 12-year-old kid know how to work Super 8 film? Like, I'm into film. My whole thing is film, and I'm not even sure I would be able to set up and properly work a Super 8 projector just because it's so freaking ancient and archaic. But how would, like, that's my point. Like, how would a 7-year-old kid know how to operate such a thing? So, but even if even if that's all the case, whatever. Let's just say they got lucky. Like, Ethan Hawke writes it off as, okay, it was just the kids. So he leaves and he locks the office. Now, there's no other way into this office. There's no other way. It happens again. How do you explain that? He doesn't. He just kind of writes his off as like he's spooked by it. He's generally spooked by the fact that happened, but at the same time he doesn't tell anybody about it. He doesn't figure out that there's some otherworldly phenomenon, because later on he has a chat with this cop, and like the only cop that really likes him, and he's probably my favorite character in the movie, by the way. He has this chat with this cop about it, like, hey, you know, do you ever like believe in ghosts? Like, there's creepy stuff going on. Like, did the previous family have anything going on with anything creepy? And you know, he's like, I mean, I don't believe in ghosts or anything. Bullshit, dude. Bullshit. Okay, you've just witnessed, you know, irrevocable proof, in fact, that there's creepy stuff going on, you know? Nobody can be in the house. Nobody can be in the office when it was locked and operate the Super 8 film, turn it on. Like, that, there's no way that could happen. And it just freaking happened. So, yeah, like, even the cop is telling him, this was a funny conversation. Because the cop is like, well, he starts off with like, you know, you're living in this house, you're really stressed out, so obviously you're going to see some wicked stuff going on. You're going to be a little freaked out by the whole ordeal. And, you know, Ethan Hawke's like, oh, you mean like ghosts? Like, do you believe in that stuff? And the cop's just like, well, of course I do. Are you kidding me? Like, I wouldn't even get like 20 feet from this house. You know, 5 people were hanged in your backyard. You know, like, I wouldn't even be comfortable, like, even in the presence of this place. Like, you sleeping here, of course you're gonna have some creepy shit. Of course there's like ghosts and shit around. What do you think? So finally, after like the apex of the film, essentially, is that Ethan wakes up again to hear the projector, and it's not in the office. He actually has to go all the way up to the attic, and in the attic he witnesses all 5 of the kids from each of the different families that went missing, and they're all crowding around this projector, and they're watching the murder scene. And then the phantom dude, who we later learn is like some pagan, it's always some pagan deity phantom thing, like it's always like, oh, these pagans, they worship this child-taking demon. Probably not true, but whatever. So he witnesses this demon who literally just pops out of nowhere, like right in front of him, and then he decides maybe we should probably leave. But still, I mean, he doesn't figure out like, okay, these are ghosts or whatever. I mean, like, you're messing with some pretty dark shit here, man. You know, like the logical thing to do would, well, first off, tell your family about this stuff. You know, because the family has experienced some creepy stuff too. Not as much as he has, but they've still experienced some creepy stuff. So tell your family about this. Tell your family, like, I've been seeing ghosts. I've been seeing, you know, like this creepy stuff all around the house. Now, normally the family would be like, oh, you're crazy, but the kids, and I think even the wife on occasion, has seen this creepy stuff as well, so they'll probably back him up, like, yeah, okay, we've seen some stuff about there, so at least Ethan Hawke wouldn't be, you know, like, all unnerved all the freaking time trying to figure out what to do. At least there'd be some in on it, you know, maybe, but of course that's not how it goes. So they leave the house finally. He burns the projector, burns the Super 8 film, moves back to their old house. And it's then when we learn that he contacts this professor guy, and we learn that, in fact, the professor tells him that basically this demon called Bagul, he can live inside of the images, which I think that was a great idea right there, like having a demon that lives in images. It's kind of like, it's like straight from like the Weeping Angels from Doctor Who, but that's why I like it so much, because that's such a clever idea. It really is, where, like, you know, just by looking at a picture, like a scary picture, like, you know, like, I mean, I think of a lot of situations in our lives where we see scary images, creepy pictures, and we have to tell ourselves, oh, it's just a picture. But how creepy would it be if just, like, whatever you're looking at just magically, like, springs out and just, like, into your world? Like, that would be freaking terrifying. So, you know, that's a pretty good premise. And he also learns that the one connection between these 5 families is that each one lived in the previous murder victim's house. So Ethan Hawke just lived in the previous murder victim's house, and he just moved to his older home. So at this point, he's done. He's screwed. He learns that he is going to be the next in line, and he's going to get murdered. And then we find out that it was actually the missing kids that did the murders, and they filmed it, and they went off with this demon to his other dimension or whatever. And I think that's at the point in the movie where I'm watching the movie, I'm watching the very end when he finds this out. He discovers, like, oh, I'm the next in line, we're next. And at this point, I'm thinking, like, okay, what would I do in this situation? I'm just like, okay, if this was me in this situation, I would just stand up and be like, okay, I'm fucked, I'm done. Come on, kill me, bring it on, I'm done at this point. There's nothing I can do about it, you know, whatever. So, you just pretty much, yeah, it's over right there. But, you know, it was a very creepy movie. It had some plot twists that I did not call. Like, the major point of the major trailer image for the movie was this kid emerging from this box all contorted and twisted and screaming. And that's not even like, that doesn't happen, like, that happens like within the first 15-20 minutes of the movie, and that's like Ethan Hawke's son who has like night terrors or whatever, and that's not even like part of all the creepy shit that's going on. So, you know, that was pretty clever right there, because like that's part of the scene that I saw in the trailer in the movie theater, and I'm like, that's the highlight of the movie. That's going to be like the major scare of the movie, this kid emerging from this in this contorted shape. You know, like that you just gave away the big ending for your movie, which it wasn't. So, got to give you props for that one. The trailer didn't actually give away a lot, now that I'm actually thinking about it, aside from the whole, you know, demon thing. That's another thing, too. He was talking to this professor guy over the internet, except the professor, these conversations only last like 2 minutes, where, like, he contacts the professor and he's like, what's going on? He's like, oh, there's this demon, he hides in images, bye. And then later he contacts him, he's like, oh, by the way, yeah, you're like, all these, like, pagan rituals and whatever, these kids go missing into this other dimension, bye. And, like, I would ask him a couple more questions. Like, at the end, he's like, what would happen if you destroyed the images? And the professor's just like, I don't understand. I'm like, you know, burn them with fire. I'm like, do you mean in real life or in the story? I'm like, it's obviously in real life, but whatever. That's another cool thing about it, too, is that when he moves back into the house, they finally explain how the box got there. The box is there. The box that he previously burned with all the Super 8 film and the projector, that's in the house. So that was genuinely creepy as well. It's like Ethan Hawke's just like, yeah, I'm screwed. There's no way I can get rid of this. So, yeah, good movie, Sinister. Good movie, Sinister. What else about it? I think I pretty much like the creepy child stuff. I mean, it's definitely there. I mean, that's like the whole ending of the movie is the child is, you know, the child is the one that kills Ethan Hawke and his family. But overall, the child creepy stuff's genuinely played down. Like, there's one scene where, you know, she's looking at it, like the girl is looking at this this dead ghost, and, you know, there's like a painting on the wall, but it's genuinely played down. It's not like really freaky. Most of it's focused on, you know, Ethan Hawke's character and him just witnessing and trying to process all this stuff. Also, the movie takes place, and I don't know if it was filmed here, but it takes place in Pennsylvania. So I felt that was kind of interesting right there. And I was going to complain about upon moving into the house, Ethan Hawke witnesses like he sees like a big, like, he goes into the attic for the first time, he witnesses like this huge freaking scorpion, and I'm just like, yeah, living in Pennsylvania, I can probably tell you that scorpions are not something you would generally see in the States. I'm not saying that, like, in the entire, because we're mostly forest, we're mostly rural. I'm not saying in the entire state you're not going to find a scorpion. But, yeah, for the most part, though, there's no scorpions. But later on, it's established, like, there's like 3 signs of Bagul. There's like a snake and a dog and a black dog and a scorpion. So I can kind of, okay, I can justify it. But so yeah, so all in all, Sinister, good movie. Watch it if you haven't. It was directed by the same guy that directed Insidious, and I didn't really like Insidious. Insidious was not something that really did anything for me. I mean, like, it started off, the general premise of Insidious was pretty good, but then it gets to the ending just lost me. Like, the whole going into your astral projected, that whole ending was just completely removed from me. It's like the way it ended, just no. You know, you're building creepy atmosphere, and then you just kind of, you just went off in your own freaking direction. You know, like, here's the plot. That's what you did with Insidious. But the director of that Insidious, he did pretty damn good work on Sinister, so I gotta give him credit where credit is due. Pretty good movie. So that's me, Teching 1001 signing out.